Hi everyone, and welcome back to another devlog for my indie retro RPG. If you've seen the previous devlogs, you'll know that I've been focusing on building systems, mainly the battle, inventory, and equipment systems, bit by bit. I haven't spent a lot of time on actual content, and in order to test the systems I've been making, I've just been putting together kind of ad hoc abilities and items on the fly purely for testing purposes. So like, for example, when I was testing the how area effect abilities worked in the battle, I just made a basic test area of effect ability and just threw some random numbers in without really worrying about anything. But now that all of these systems are mostly functional, they're working the way I want them to work, I'm starting to turn my attention to kind of formalizing the content a little bit. So I present to you my game's first player class, the Fire Wizard. Now, my intention for the Fire Wizard is to be a class that focuses on dealing damage with just a little utility and defensive capability. Each class in the game, I think, is going to have roughly like 13 to 15 abilities, and those will be spread out over 30 levels. That's the max level I want to have. So you'll get a new ability every 2 or 3 levels as you progress and level up. And as well, each time you level up, your base stats will increase as well. So right now, for testing purposes, I have all the abilities available right off the bat, so I don't have to level up again and again to access them. But once the game is more further along, I'll lock these abilities behind levels, and I'm not quite sure what order you're going to receive them in. So here are the current abilities I have for the Fire Wizard. Obviously, these are all subject to change as I iterate on things and develop the game, but this is a good starting point just to kind of get a feel for what the class might be like. So first up is melee attack. Now this is the basic ability that all players will start with no matter the class, and it's going to adjust depending on the weapon that you have equipped. So if you have a fast weapon that deals light damage, the cast time of this ability will decrease and it'll deal less damage, whereas if you equip, let's say, like a two-handed weapon, it'll take longer to cast and it'll deal much more damage. Then we have Ignite. Now this is the first dot that a Fire Wizard has. He has a couple, and it's designed to be a kind of a quick dot, so it does 3 ticks of damage, so ideally used for lighter enemies that aren't going to stick around too long. Next up is Fireball, and this is a pretty straightforward direct damage spell, but it also has the special effect of lowering the fire resistance of the target, and that's cumulative right now, so you could cast this 3 or 4 times on an enemy, and that will greatly reduce their fire resist in total. Up next is Flame Shield, and this is one of the few buffs that the Fire Wizard has, and it raises both your physical armor and your fire resist. Then we have Cauterize. This is the only heal available to the Fire Wizard at the moment. I don't want this class to really have much in the way of defense because it's supposed to be an offensive class, but I want to give some support just in case you do run out of potions. You can use Cauterize to heal yourself. Then we have Weapon Slam. For the Fire Wizard, and really for all classes, I want to give at least a few abilities that deal physical damage or some other damage that is not related to their main damage type. So the Fire Wizard primarily does fire damage, but I want to give a couple options. So the original melee attack, and now one more Weapon Slam to deal physical, just in case you run up against an enemy that has heavy fire resistance, you can deal a heavy physical attack here. Next is Blinding Flash. This is a really interesting debuff that lowers the skill ceiling of the enemies that you're fighting. And so what that means is that when you cast this on enemies, it will basically make them dumber. So they're less likely to heal their comrades, they're less likely to use their debuffs on you. It basically makes them forget how to use their abilities very well. This is another debuff you can cast that lowers the dexterity of the target, and the way the numbers and the stats are set up now is dexterity is designed to increase your chances to hit. So if you cast this on an enemy, they're less likely to be able to hit you. Then we have Scorch, and this is another dot, the second dot for the Fire Wizard. And this is a longer dot, deals heavier damage and lasts longer, so this is one you might want to bring into battle if you're going up against enemies with big health pools or bosses. Then we have Explosion. This is the area of effect damage for the Fire Wizard. It does heavy damage, costs a lot of mana, but you get a lot of bang for your buck because it deals damage to every enemy on the screen. Then we have Meteor. This is basically a slower, heavier damage version of Fireball. Then Slow Burn. This is a really nice buff that will double the damage of the next fire ability you use. So you cast this on yourself, then you cast Meteor, you can deal some extremely heavy damage. And last but not least, we have Weaken to Fire. This is another debuff, and this is designed to greatly lower the fire resistance of your target. So if you don't want to cast Fireball multiple times on an enemy to lower the fire resist, you could bring this into battle and in one cast, drop their fire resist down pretty far. I've made a few other random improvements as well. So I've put in energy potions, mana potions, and health potions. So now you can use these to boost all 3 of your bars for fighting. And another little improvement I made is the ability to cast some spells on the overworld here. So right now that's just healing spells. So for example, I have Cauterize. So if I drop Cauterize, which is my heal, into the ability bar here, I can cast it and heal myself outside of combat. So, or I can use a potion as well outside of combat. So just a couple little odd improvements that make the game feel a little nicer. All right, I think that just about covers it for this devlog. In the comments, if you want to leave any thoughts you have about the game, how it looks, how you think the mechanics are playing, any thoughts on the abilities, stuff like that, I'd love to hear them. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I put up the next devlog. I'm trying to get them up between 1 to 2 weeks. A lot of it depends on just how much I'm able to work on the game. I have very limited time with family and work obligations. But yeah, I'm trying to shoot for every week, or at most every 2 weeks. So yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.